I cheated on my husband, got dumped by my affair partner, then demanded my ex raise my affair baby, forced a shared Christmas, removed the labels from my daughter's presents, and let my affair son open them to teach my ex a lesson, then told my crying 7-year-old to move on and share her last gift with her half-brother. Now my daughter won't speak to me and my ex has full custody. I watched my 7-year-old daughter sob as her 4-year-old half-brother opened her Christmas presents. Presents her father had carefully chosen and wrapped. Presents I deliberately removed the name tags from. And I told her to stop being selfish. I'm writing this from my mother's basement because I have nowhere else to go. No home. No daughter. No relationship with anyone who matters. Just the crushing weight of understanding that I destroyed my child's Christmas, her trust, and our entire relationship because I was angry at my ex-husband for not raising my affair baby. 2 months ago, I had joint custody of my daughter. Now I have supervised visitation she refuses to attend. I have a son whose father abandoned us and whose sister hates him. I have an ex-husband who documented everything and used it to get full custody. And I have the memory of my daughter's face when she realized what I'd done. Let me start at the beginning, because every terrible choice I made stemmed from the first one. I cheated on my husband. 4 years ago, I had what I thought was a perfect life. Husband Aiden, daughter Riley, then 3, nice house, stability. But I was bored. Aiden worked long hours. I felt neglected. Unappreciated. So when I met Jaden at a work conference, I told myself I deserved the attention. The excitement. The feeling of being wanted. The affair lasted 6 months. I got pregnant. Jaden said the baby was probably Aiden's. We were still intimate occasionally. I convinced myself he was right. When my son Jake was born, the paternity was obvious. Jake looked nothing like Aiden or Riley. He looked exactly like Jaden. Aiden demanded a paternity test. I couldn't refuse. The results confirmed what we both knew: Jake wasn't his. Aiden filed for divorce immediately. I was devastated. Not because I loved him, I'd clearly shown I didn't. But because my comfortable life was ending. The divorce was brutal. Aiden got primary custody of Riley. I got every other weekend. Aiden got the house. I got an apartment I could barely afford. And I got Jake. The affair baby nobody wanted. Jaden, Jake's biological father, wanted nothing to do with us. He was married. His wife found out about the affair when I tracked him down to demand child support. He paid the court-ordered minimum and blocked me everywhere else. So there I was. Single mother of 2. 1 daughter who lived with her father and 1 son whose father pretended he didn't exist. I was bitter. Angry. I blamed Aiden for not being more forgiving. Blamed Jaden for abandoning us. Blamed everyone but myself. Riley struggled with the divorce. She was only 3.5, confused about why Daddy didn't live with us anymore. Why she had a baby brother who looked different. Why everything had changed. Aiden was good with her. Patient. He got her into therapy. Maintained routines. Made sure she felt loved and secure. I resented him for being the good parent. For making me look bad by comparison. My weekends with Riley were hard. I had a colicky baby, Jake, and a preschooler who missed her father. I was exhausted. Overwhelmed. Angry. I started saying things to Riley I shouldn't have. Daddy left us because he doesn't forgive people. Your brother is part of our family now, whether Daddy likes it or not. Don't tell Daddy, but... Poisoning her against Aiden while pretending I wasn't. Aiden called me on it. Stop badmouthing me to Riley. She comes home confused and upset. I'm not badmouthing you. I'm telling her the truth. The truth is you cheated, got pregnant, and I divorced you for it. That's not me being unforgiving. That's consequences. So Jake should suffer because you can't handle that I made a mistake? Jake isn't suffering. He has a mother who should focus on him instead of trying to make me raise your affair partner's child. That's what this was really about. I wanted Aiden to accept Jake. To treat him like his son. To raise him so I didn't have to do it alone. But Aiden refused. Jake has a father. Not me. Track down Jaden if Jake needs a dad. Jaden wants nothing to do with us. That's not my problem. You chose Jaden. These are the consequences. I hated that word. Consequences. Like my choices meant I deserved to struggle. Over the next few years, I became increasingly resentful. Aiden's life seemed perfect: good job, nice house, primary custody of Riley. Mine was a mess: tiny apartment, barely making ends meet, raising a child alone. I convinced myself Aiden owed me something. That he should help more. That Jake deserved to know his half-sister better. Aiden disagreed. Jake can know Riley during your custody time. But I'm not integrating your affair child into my life. He's her brother. He's your son with another man. Riley loves him because he's her brother. I'm civil to him because he's innocent in this. But I'm not playing happy family with the physical proof of your infidelity. It was harsh. But it was fair. I just couldn't see that through my entitlement. This year, as Christmas approached, I started planning. Riley would be with Aiden for Christmas Day. For the custody agreement, we alternated years. I'd have her Christmas Eve. But I wanted more. I wanted Aiden to include Jake in Christmas. To buy him presents. To treat him equally with Riley. I called Aiden 2 weeks before Christmas. I want to do a shared Christmas morning. Me, you, Riley, and Jake. Like a family. No. Why not? For Riley's sake. She should see her parents getting along. We get along fine at drop-offs. That's enough. It's not enough for Riley. She deserves to see her whole family together on Christmas. Her whole family is me and her. Jake is your family. Not mine. Jake is her brother. You're being cruel to a 4-year-old. I'm being realistic. We're divorced. We're not a family. Riley knows she has 2 homes, 2 separate Christmases. She's fine with that. She's not fine. She cries about wanting us all together. This was a lie. Riley never said that. But I was desperate to force the situation. The answer is no. Riley will be with me Christmas Day. You'll have her Christmas Eve. That's the agreement. I hung up furious. Who was he to deny my son a proper Christmas? Who was he to exclude Jake from family celebrations? That's when I hatched my plan. My terrible, unforgivable plan. Christmas Eve came. I picked up Riley from Aiden's house. She was excited, chattering about Santa and presents and seeing me. Guess what, sweetie? We're going to have a special Christmas this year. What do you mean? We're going to spend Christmas morning with Daddy too. All 4 of us together. Her face lit up. Really? Daddy said yes? Daddy wants it to be a surprise. So we're going over there Christmas morning with Jake, and we'll all open presents together. This was a lie. Aiden had said no. But I was so deep in my entitlement that I convinced myself showing up would force him to go along with it. That night, Riley could barely sleep. She was so excited about having everyone together. I felt the twinge of guilt. But I pushed it away. This was for the best. Aiden would see how happy Riley was and he'd have to play along. Christmas morning, I got both kids dressed. Jake was excited because his big sister was excited. Riley was practically vibrating with anticipation. We drove to Aiden's house. I didn't call ahead. I just showed up at 8 a.m. with both kids. Aiden opened the door in his pajamas, coffee in hand. His face went from confused to angry in seconds. What are you doing here? Merry Christmas. We're here for family Christmas. I pushed past him, kids in tow. I told you no. And I told Riley we're doing this. So unless you want to ruin her Christmas, you'll go along with it. I'd weaponized our daughter. Used her excitement to manipulate him. Aiden looked at Riley, who was already heading to the living room where I could see a beautiful Christmas tree surrounded by wrapped presents. Daddy. It's so pretty. Can we open presents now? Aiden's jaw clenched. He looked at me with pure hatred. We're going to talk about this later. Sure. After family Christmas. Riley was examining the presents. Each one had a tag, to Riley, love Dad in Aiden's handwriting. Jake toddled over, attracted by the shiny paper and bows. Jake, these are Riley's presents from Daddy, I said loudly, making sure Aiden heard. Isn't it sad that Daddy didn't get you any presents? Aiden's eyes went wide. Are you serious right now? I'm just pointing out the inequality. You bought for one child but not the other. He's not my child. He's your daughter's brother. Riley looked confused. Daddy, why didn't you get Jake presents? Because Jake isn't. Because Jake's Christmas is with his mom. You have presents from me, and Jake has presents from his mom. But we're all together now, Riley said. Jake should have presents too. This was going exactly as I'd planned. I was turning Riley against Aiden, making him look like the bad guy. Aiden pulled me aside. You need to leave. Now. Before you do any more damage. I'm not leaving. We're having family Christmas whether you like it or not. Then I'm calling my lawyer. You're violating the custody agreement and alienating Riley against me. Try it. I'll tell them you excluded a 4-year-old from Christmas. We were at a standoff. Riley and Jake were in the living room. Riley was showing Jake the presents, explaining what might be in each one. Aiden made a decision. Fine. We'll do this. But you're going to regret this. He went to the living room. Riley, let's open presents. Jake can watch. Can Jake open some too? Riley asked. Jake's presents are at Mommy's house, remember? Riley's face fell. I could see her processing it, how unfair it seemed that she got presents and Jake didn't. That's when I made my move. While Aiden was in the kitchen getting coffee, I quickly went through the presents under the tree. I removed the name tags. All of them. Every single to Riley, Love Dad label. I threw them in my purse. When Aiden came back, I said, Riley, you can start opening presents. Anyone you want. Riley reached for a large box. Aiden started to say something but stopped. He probably realized what I'd done but couldn't prove it without causing a scene. Riley opened it, a beautiful doll she'd been wanting. Thank you, Daddy. You're welcome, sweetheart. Jake reached for a present. Me too. Jake, those are, Aiden started. Let him open one, I said. It's Christmas. Kids share. Aiden looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not just anger. Something like disgust mixed with disbelief. No. Those are Riley's presents. All of them. I bought them for Riley. Come on. One present. He's 4 years old. Don't be cruel. Riley was watching this exchange, holding her new doll. Daddy, Jake can have one, she said softly. I don't mind sharing. My sweet, generous daughter. Trying to fix the situation her mother had created. Aiden's face softened looking at Riley. Then hardened looking at me. Fine. Jake can open one. One. Then you're leaving. Jake, oblivious to the tension, grabbed a medium-sized box and tore into it. A toy train set. Something Aiden had carefully chosen for Riley based on her current interests. Choo-choo, Jake said happily. Riley's face fell slightly. She loved trains. But she smiled at Jake. That's a good present, Jakey. We continued like this. Riley would open one, then I'd encourage Jake to open one. Aiden got more tense with each present Jake opened. Finally, there was one present left. A large, special box that I could tell from Aiden's earlier glances was something important. Riley reached for it. Wait, I said. Jake hasn't opened as many as you have. Let him have this one. But Mommy. Riley, it's important to share. Especially with your little brother who doesn't have a daddy to buy him presents. The emotional manipulation was blatant. I was teaching my daughter that her brother's sad circumstances meant she should sacrifice for him. That her needs were less important. Aiden stood up. That's it. Get out. Now. Both of you. We're not done opening presents. Yes, you are. Riley gets the last present. You and Jake leave. Right now, or I'm calling the police for trespassing. On Christmas? You'd call the police on your daughter's mother on Christmas? Watch me. Riley started crying. Daddy, please. I want Mommy to stay. Jake was crying now too because everyone else was upset. It was chaos. Beautiful Christmas morning destroyed. I doubled down. Fine. We're leaving. Come on, Riley. We're going to Mommy's house where we actually treat everyone fairly. What? Aiden said. She's staying here. It's my custody day. You just kicked us out. So we're all leaving. Say goodbye to Daddy, Riley. I was kidnapping my daughter. Violating the custody order. But I was so deep in my righteous fury that I didn't care. Aiden blocked the door. Riley is staying here. You can take Jake and leave. Riley, get your coat. We're going. My daughter stood in the middle, crying, confused, caught between her parents on Christmas morning. Aiden pulled out his phone. I'm calling 911. For what? Custodial interference. Attempted kidnapping. Harassment. Take your pick. I backed down. Because I suddenly realized he was serious. And I'd gone too far. Fine. Riley stays. But you're destroying her Christmas. No. You did that. When you showed up uninvited. When you removed name tags from presents. When you encouraged Jake to open Riley's gifts. When you used both kids as weapons against me. You did this. He was right. But I couldn't admit it. I grabbed Jake and left. As I pulled away, I could see Aiden kneeling down, talking to Riley, holding the last present. That night, Riley came back to me for the evening. Per our schedule, she was supposed to return to Aiden's the next morning. She was subdued. Sad. Did you have a good Christmas with Daddy? I asked, fishing. It was okay. Daddy was sad. He said you did something very wrong. What did Daddy say I did? He said you took the tags off my presents so Jake could open them. And that you came over without asking. And that you tried to make me leave when it was his turn to have me. And what do you think? I think Jake should have gotten presents too. But Daddy's right that they were my presents. And I think maybe you should have asked before we came over. My 7-year-old was more mature than I was. Well, sometimes grown-ups disagree. But Mommy was trying to make sure Jake didn't feel left out. But I felt left out. Because Jake opened most of my presents and Daddy was mad at you and everyone was crying. The truth was starting to surface. I'd ruined my daughter's Christmas to make a point to my ex. But I still wasn't ready to accept full responsibility. Daddy should have gotten Jake presents too, then everyone would have been happy. But Jake isn't Daddy's son. Daddy said Jake has a dad somewhere else who should buy him presents. Daddy's right, but that dad doesn't want Jake. So Jake has no one except me. I was dumping adult problems on a 7-year-old. Making her feel responsible for her half-brother's sad situation. Riley hugged me. I'm sorry Jake's dad doesn't want him. But Mommy, I think you made Daddy really sad today. Maybe you should say sorry. Out of the mouths of babes. But I didn't apologize. I convinced myself I'd done nothing wrong. That Aiden was being unreasonable. That I was just advocating for Jake. When I took Riley back to Aiden's the next day, he handed me papers. What's this? Motion to modify custody. Emergency hearing scheduled for next week. I'm seeking full custody with supervised visitation for you. You can't be serious. You violated the custody order. You attempted custodial interference. You manipulated Riley and used Jake as a weapon. You destroyed Christmas. Yes, I'm serious. You'll never get full custody. The courts favor mothers. Not mothers who do what you did. I documented everything. I have video from my doorbell camera. I have the present tags you removed. I have Riley's therapist's notes about the impact this had on her. You're done. He shut the door in my face. I stood there, holding the papers, finally realizing how badly I'd miscalculated. The emergency custody hearing was a bloodbath. Aiden's lawyer presented everything. Doorbell footage of me showing up uninvited. Screenshots of texts where I'd threatened to keep Riley if he didn't agree to shared Christmas. The removed name tags, he'd collected them from my purse when I wasn't looking. They had his handwriting, proving they were from Riley's presents. Worst of all, Riley's therapist testified. Riley came to her session after Christmas extremely distressed, the therapist said. She expressed guilt over her brother opening her presents. She said her mother told her she was being selfish for wanting to keep her last present. She described feeling caught between her parents and responsible for her brother's happiness. The judge looked at me. Did you tell your 7-year-old daughter she was selfish for not wanting to give away her Christmas presents? I tried to explain. I was teaching her to share. Her brother doesn't have a father, and I thought it was important that. Ma'am, I'm not asking about your intentions. Did you tell your daughter she was selfish? Yes. But I was trying to teach her empathy. By making her feel guilty for wanting her own Christmas presents. Presents her father bought specifically for her. Her father should have also bought presents for Jake. Jake is her brother. Jake is your son with another man. Is that correct? Yes, but. And the father is not Mr. Peterson? No, but Aiden could. Mr. Peterson has no legal or moral obligation to purchase Christmas gifts for your child with another man. Do you understand that? I didn't answer. Because I didn't agree. I still thought Aiden should have done more for Jake. The judge's expression hardened. I'm going to ask you a direct question, Ms. Sullivan. Do you believe Mr. Peterson has an obligation to support, financially or emotionally, the child you conceived during an affair? I think when a child is in the picture, adults should step up. That's not what I asked. Do you believe your ex-husband has an obligation to your affair child? Put that way, it sounded absurd. But I couldn't admit I was wrong. Jake is innocent in this. He deserves. I agree Jake is innocent. But that doesn't create an obligation for Mr. Peterson. Your continued insistence that it does concerns me deeply. It suggests you're unable to maintain appropriate boundaries and will continue to pressure your daughter to compensate for your choices. I'm not pressuring. You told a 7-year-old she was selfish for wanting to keep her Christmas presents. You removed name tags to trick her into letting her brother open her gifts. You violated a custody order to force a joint Christmas your ex explicitly declined. That's pressure. That's manipulation. That's using your daughter as a weapon. I had nothing to say. Because she was right. The judge granted Aiden temporary full custody pending a full hearing. I was granted supervised visitation once a week for 2 hours. I left that courthouse knowing I'd lost my daughter. The supervised visitation started the following week. Riley showed up with Aiden, met me in a room with a court-appointed supervisor, and we spent 2 awkward hours together. She was polite but distant, answering questions but not volunteering information, playing with toys but not engaging with me. "Are you still mad at me about Christmas?" I finally asked. She looked at me with those serious 7-year-old eyes. "I'm not mad. I'm sad." "Why are you sad?" "Because you made Jake open my presents. And you said I was selfish. And you made Daddy upset. And now I can't live with you anymore." "Sweetie, that's temporary. Mommy made some mistakes, but we'll fix this." "Daddy said you can't fix it because you don't think you did anything wrong." "Daddy's wrong? I know I made mistakes." "Then why did you tell Jake he could have my last present?" I didn't have a good answer. Because the truth was I'd been so focused on punishing Aiden and proving a point that I'd sacrificed my daughter's happiness. I was trying to be fair to Jake. But it wasn't fair to me. Those were my presents. From my dad? Jake has you to buy him presents. I only have Daddy for presents from a dad. My 7-year-old understood the situation better than I did. "You're right, I admit it. I was wrong. I'm sorry." She nodded but didn't seem convinced. The full custody hearing was 3 months later. In that time, I'd lost everything. My landlord evicted me for falling behind on rent, legal fees were eating my savings. I moved in with my mother. Jake's father stopped paying child support, claiming financial hardship, and I couldn't afford a lawyer to chase him. My job performance suffered and I was put on probation. Aiden, meanwhile, thrived. Riley was doing better in school. Her therapist reported improvement. She'd stopped having nightmares about her parents fighting. The contrast was damning. At the full hearing, the recommendation from the guardian ad litem was brutal. Ms. Sullivan demonstrates an ongoing pattern of prioritizing her own needs and feelings over Riley's well-being. She has repeatedly violated boundaries, used Riley as a tool for manipulation, and failed to recognize the harm she's caused. While supervised visitation has been incident-free, Riley reports feeling anxious before visits and relieved after. She expresses a preference for living with her father full-time. The judge asked to speak with Riley privately. This was rare but allowed when the child was mature enough. Riley came out of chambers 20 minutes later, eyes red from crying. The judge returned. "I've made my decision. Mr. Peterson is granted sole physical and legal custody. Ms. Sullivan is granted supervised visitation every other week for 2 hours, pending completion of parenting classes and therapy focused on boundary issues and child-centered parenting. Visitation may increase upon recommendation of the therapist." I'd lost her. Completely. Because of Christmas. Because of my entitled demand that Aiden raise my affair child. Because of my inability to accept responsibility. The supervised visits continued. But Riley became more withdrawn. Eventually, she asked Aiden if she had to go. His lawyer informed mine that while Riley was not refusing visitation outright, she was expressing serious anxiety about it. They recommended a break from visits to allow Riley time to heal. I haven't seen my daughter in 6 weeks. Jake, now 4.5, doesn't understand why his sister doesn't come over anymore. I've tried to explain, but how do you tell a child that his existence is associated with the destruction of his mother's other family? I hate myself for thinking that. Jake is innocent. He's a sweet kid who deserves better than a mother who resents him for complicating her life. But I do resent him. God help me, I do. Because if I hadn't cheated, if Jake didn't exist, I'd still have my daughter. I'd still have my life. Which is twisted thinking, I know. Jake isn't the problem. I am. My choices. My affair. My entitlement. My manipulation. Jake is just the visible reminder of all my worst decisions. My therapist, court-ordered, has been forcing me to confront some ugly truths. "Why did you remove the name tags from Riley's presents?" she asked. "So Jake could open some without feeling left out." "But you knew they were Riley's presents. Bought by Aiden specifically for her." "Yes." "So you intentionally tricked your daughter into giving away her Christmas presents." "I was teaching her to share." "Were you? Or were you punishing Aiden by making him watch Jake open the presents he'd bought for Riley?" Silence. "You used both children as weapons," she continued. "You used Jake's circumstances to make Riley feel guilty. You used Riley's love for her brother to manipulate her. You used both of them to punish Aiden for not accepting your affair child. I wanted them to be a family. They're not a family. You and Aiden are divorced. Jake is not Aiden's son. They have separate lives. You've refused to accept that reality. But Riley and Jake are siblings. Yes. And they can have a relationship during your time with Riley. But that doesn't mean Aiden has to integrate Jake into his life or his Christmas. You have no right to demand that. But Jake deserves a mother who doesn't use him as a weapon against her ex. He deserves a mother who takes responsibility for her choices instead of demanding others compensate for them. He deserves better than what you're giving him. That hurt because it was true. I've been trying to understand how I became this person. This entitled, manipulative person who would ruin her daughter's Christmas to prove a point. It started with the affair. With feeling entitled to outside attention because I was neglected. With justifying betrayal because I deserved happiness. It continued through the divorce. With refusing to accept consequences. With blaming Aiden for not forgiving me. With expecting him to help raise my affair child. It culminated at Christmas. With showing up uninvited. With removing name tags. With encouraging Jake to open Riley's presents. With calling my daughter selfish for wanting to keep her last gift. Each step, I told myself I was advocating for Jake. Protecting him. Making sure he wasn't excluded. But really, I was punishing Aiden. And using both children to do it. I saw Aiden recently at a custody exchange. Jake had a medical appointment and I needed paperwork from Riley's file that Aiden had. He wouldn't look at me. "How is she?" I asked. "She's fine. Thriving, actually." Does she ask about me?" "Sometimes. Less now." That hurt worse than anything. "I'm sorry," I said. "For Christmas. For all of it. I know it's too late, but I'm sorry." He looked at me then. "Do you actually understand what you did? Or are you just sorry you lost custody?" "I understand. I manipulated both kids. I used them against you. I ruined Riley's Christmas because I was angry at you." "And Jake? Do you understand what you're doing to him?" That surprised me. "What do you mean?" "You're making him the reason for everything bad. The affair baby who ruined your marriage. The child who complicates your custody. The kid you resent for existing. He's 4. He can feel it." I started crying. "I don't mean to. I know you don't mean to. But you're doing it anyway. And someday, he'll realize that his sister doesn't see him because his mother used him as a weapon. That his existence is associated with destroyed Christmases and custody battles. You're setting him up for a lifetime of guilt and resentment. What am I supposed to do?" "Get help. Real help. Not just showing up to court-ordered therapy but actually working on yourself. Accept that Riley might not want a relationship with you for a long time. Let Jake be a kid without making him responsible for your mistakes. And leave me alone. We're done. We'll co-parent Riley through lawyers. But we're not friends. We're not family. We're two people who share a child you used as a pawn." He walked away. That conversation was a month ago. I've been thinking about it every day since. Jake's father, Jaden, contacted me recently. Out of nowhere. Said he wanted to try to be involved. I was ecstatic at first. Finally, Jake would have a father. Finally, I wouldn't be doing this alone. Then Jaden explained what he meant. He'd visit once a month. He'd take Jake for a few hours. But he wouldn't pay more child support. Wouldn't change his life. Just wanted to know his son. And I realized this was the man I destroyed my family for. This half-hearted, unavailable man who wanted the title of father without the responsibility. I told him no. That Jake deserved more than someone who treated fatherhood like a hobby. That I'd rather raise him alone than teach him that inconsistent love was acceptable. Jaden shrugged and left. He hasn't contacted me since. So now it's just me and Jake. In my mother's basement. Trying to figure out how to be a good mother to the child I have while mourning the daughter I lost. Jake asks about Riley constantly. When is Riley coming? Can we go to Riley's house? Does Riley still love me? I have to tell him yes, Riley still loves him. Even though I don't know if that's true. Even though Riley associates him with the worst Christmas of her life. My mother watches these interactions with sadness. She told me once, "You've made these children victims of your selfishness." Jake didn't ask to be born into this mess. Riley didn't ask for her Christmas to be destroyed. They're both paying for your choices. She's right. I think about that Christmas morning often. The moment I removed those name tags. The moment I encouraged Jake to open present after present. The moment I told Riley she was selfish for wanting to keep her last gift. I was so focused on proving a point, that Aiden should accept Jake, should treat him equally, should compensate for Jaden's abandonment, that I lost sight of what mattered, my children's happiness. Riley didn't care if Jake got presents from Aiden. She just wanted a peaceful Christmas. Jake didn't need presents from Aiden, he needed a mother who wasn't using him as a weapon. But I couldn't see past my own bitterness and entitlement. Now Riley is happy without me. Aiden sends me school photos occasionally, as required by the custody order. She's smiling in them. Genuinely happy. She looks like she did before the divorce. Before I started using her to fight with Aiden. Before Christmas. Jake, meanwhile, is starting to ask questions. Why did Daddy leave? Why doesn't Riley live here? Why are we at Grandma's house? How do I explain that Daddy left because Mommy cheated? That Riley doesn't live here because Mommy ruined Christmas? That we're at Grandma's house because Mommy can't afford anything better? I can't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. My therapist asked me last week what I've learned. That I'm entitled. That I use people. That I've hurt everyone around me and blamed them for my choices. What else? That I failed as a mother. Both children. I cheated and blew up Riley's stable home. I resent Jake for existing. I used both of them to punish Aiden. I'm selfish and manipulative and I've done irreparable damage. She nodded. Can you make it right? With Riley? I don't know. Maybe someday, if I actually change. With Jake? Maybe. If I can learn to love him without resenting him. And with yourself? That's the hardest question. I cheated on my husband and got pregnant by my affair partner. When the affair partner abandoned us, I demanded my ex-husband raise my affair baby. When he refused, I forced a shared Christmas, removed the labels from my daughter's presents, let my affair son open them to punish my ex, and told my crying 7-year-old to move on and share her last gift. Now my daughter lives with her father full-time and won't see me. My affair son asks about the sister who doesn't come over anymore. My ex won't speak to me except through lawyers. I destroyed 2 children's sense of security because I couldn't accept the consequences of my own actions. There's no redemption story here. No moment where everyone forgives me and we become a happy family. Just the reality that some mistakes can't be fixed. That some damage is permanent. That choosing entitlement over accountability costs you everything. I have a son I resent and a daughter I've lost. That's what happens when you cheat, blow up your family, and then demand everyone else compensate for your choices. I ruined Christmas trying to teach my ex-husband a lesson. Instead, I taught my daughter that her mother can't be trusted. And I taught my son that his existence causes pain. Those are lessons they'll carry forever. And I have to live with the fact that I'm the teacher who failed them both.